With the NBA draft inching closer and closer, one thing is for certain, and it's that the San Antonio Spurs are going to be selecting Victor Wembanyama with the #1 overall pick. When you look throughout NBA history, there are really only a select few players who people look at and say, he changed the game of basketball. When you look at what Victor Wembanyama could potentially do and what he could potentially become at the NBA level, it's hard not to think that he could force teams to become more creative and adapt to a player like him. The immediate draw with Victor Wembanyama is, of course, his defense. He's been considered to be the greatest defensive prospect since Tim Duncan, and rightfully so. The defensive prowess that he exhibited against grown men as a teenager in the French pro leagues is plenty to earn him that label. And it's not like he was playing against a bunch of scrubs. A lot of the guys that play in this league are former NBA players. One of the most important things that you need in the NBA in order to be a reliable playoff defense is a defensive anchor. Fortunately for the Spurs, Wemby has already shown he has no problem anchoring a defense, as he did it exceptionally well with his LNB team. Let's look at this possession to get an idea of what exactly Wemby's going to excel at as a defender. He's going to start off all the way over in the weak side corner on this play. Monaco gets into the pick and roll, and this prompts Wemby to immediately start to shift over to the corner and help shut down the drive. His presence forces the kick out to the corner, so he resets so that he can be ready to guard on ball at the nail. But when the dump off is made to the cutter heading to the dunker spot, Wemby makes a great rotation to provide help and deter the first shot, and then blocking the second shot before drawing the foul on the rebound. Just looking at the amount of space that he's able to occupy and assert his presence is something that makes scoring the ball infinitely more complicated for the opposing team. He's sagging back into the paint on this drive from Mike James, seemingly to guard the potential dump off to the man in the dunker spot. What makes Wemby so special is that his length allows him to impact both possibilities of A, James dumping it off to the dunker spot. If this happens, Wemby can quickly rotate and deter that shot. Or B, if James decides to take it all the way to the rim like he does, even though he gets the shot off before Wemby can contest, it doesn't even matter because Wemby's got too long of a wingspan, so he's still able to get the block. Once again, we're going to see the concept of ground coverage in Wemby's defense on this play. He's going to provide some coverage on the potential drive coming off of these staggered screens, then resetting to guard the paint. But once he realizes that number 9 is going to be setting this pin down for number 8 to come up and get the pass so that they can get into a side pick and roll, Wemby anticipates it and forces them to reset. Then on the drive, his presence once again makes the ball handler second guess, leading to a dump off, and then they try to get into this snug DHO, but Wemby's able to get out there to contest the shot and even get the block. On this possession where Wemby is set up, you can tell he's anticipating the staggered off-ball screens to try and generate an open three-point look. Wemby, instead of staying onto his man, preemptively occupies that space near the three-point line in order to prevent that shot. When the ball handler shakes his man and drives him into the pick, Wemby closes out on the perimeter to once again deter the shot. I really do believe that he's going to be one of the most impactful rim protectors in the NBA from day one. Teams are going to have to alter their shot profiles entirely when he's on the floor to ensure that they're not putting themselves in positions where Wemby's going to be able to alter anything at the rim or in the paint. This is the concept of rim deterrence, the idea that teams won't even try to attempt shots at the rim or down low because they know that a guy like Wemby is going to be there. Opposing teams are going to have to adapt to his presence because we haven't ever seen a player with as much versatility in this kind of frame before. So offenses are going to be in uncharted territory trying to figure out how to score against him. Now let's talk about his offense, because this is where there seems to be a pretty wide range of opinions as far as what he's actually going to become. One thing I want to say right off the bat, the difference between Victor Wembanyama and some of the other 7-footers we've seen over the years is that Wemby is kind of the first guy in this frame that can move so well and with such fluidity. Look at this shot from Game 3 from the LNB Pro A Finals. This is a 7'3" guy with an 8-foot wingspan using a crossover to drive on his defender just so that he can get into a step back 3. Nothing about that is normal. This creation ability from a guy of his size, being able to be this smooth and comfortable with the ball in his hands, is unlike anything we've ever seen before. Even though his 27% three-point shooting isn't going to be raising any eyebrows off the bat, it's the process of creating these shots for himself that adds to his insane offensive upside, even if the efficiency isn't quite there yet from beyond the arc. But where the efficiency is there already is in the mid-range. Wemby shot 54.7% on mid-range shots during his time in the LNB, making him one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire league. When you watch him take some of these shots, you really question how you're even supposed to guard him. Stationary shots against defenders even slightly shorter than him look so easy because he barely even has to leave the ground, since he can use that wingspan to effortlessly get the shot off over top of them. His face-up game already looks well beyond his years, being able to take guys off the dribble to drive to his spots. Now, I'm not saying he's as strong or as good of a mid-range creator as Embiid, so don't start getting angry in the comments at what I'm about to say, but I see a lot of the same kind of stuff from Wemby in the mid-range that we see from Embiid as far as the face-up game goes. They both like those high post jumpers near the nail and at the elbows, and they like to stop off the dribble drive so that they can get an open look in that in-between area. His individual scoring prowess is impressive, but the way we've seen him score within the context of his team is perfect for a team like the Spurs. One play that stuck out to me from Game 3 of the LNB Finals was when Wemby was running the pick and roll, and when he starts to roll, Monaco's defense is going to collapse onto him. This opens the pass to 20 on the wing, who can then drive, forcing even more help from Monaco down low, with the drive coming and Wemby still occupying space down there, and this leaves the shooter open in the corner for 3. His roll gravity is what initially allowed for all of that to unfold in the first place, and the ball never even touched his hands. Now, before I talk about this clip, I should provide some context. Prior to this play, he was being fronted in the post by his defenders, so he couldn't get an entry pass. He was starting to get frustrated by this, so he told his teammates they needed to start flashing to the nail so that they could get a pass. Shortly after that happened, on this play, he's once again being fronted on the post-up, and his teammate does what Wemby asked him to do, which was flash to the nail. In the second that pass is made, Wemby uses perfect footwork to spin around his defender and get the seal, and he's able to get the pass on the cut to the basket for the easy slam. This play is a great showcase of just how high of a feel for the game Wemby has. You can see this feel in his overall passing game too. I think he's a very underrated passer. The thing is, he isn't just a reactive passer. He's a good enough of a playmaker to where he understands how his actions and his presence will impact the defense, and he uses that to his advantage to create for his teammates. When he gets this feed in the post, he knows if he pivots out a bit, he's going to be able to open up a lane for the cutter, and that's going to draw the weak side help defense in a little bit further towards the paint. So when he does this, it opens the pass to the wing for a wide open easy 3. This possession initially looks like it's supposed to be a DHO, but instead they're going to run an inverted pick and roll with Wemby as the ball handler, and the open lane forces the help to slide from both the strong side corner and from the nail, and he's going to capitalize on the defensive pressure to get it to the open cutter for the finish. He can operate within the flow of your offense while also being able to operate as your primary offensive initiator. This is an area of his game that's definitely going to have to be fleshed out more and more as his career progresses and he gets some more reps under his belt, but there's no doubt in my mind that he'll have no problem being one of the primary ball handlers. Victor Wembanyama is really a one-of-a-kind prospect. We've never seen anything like him, and it could be a long time before we see anybody like him ever again. The crazy thing is, even if you put him in a more average frame for a center, he's still an incredible prospect. The height and wingspan definitely help him out, but his level of skill at only 19 years old is enough to land him a spot in the NBA. But since he has the frame that he has, there really is no limit to just how unstoppable this kid could ultimately end up being, which is why I think teams are going to be forced to innovate and try new things in order to game plan, not just for Victor Wembanyama himself, but game plan for a team constructed around him and what new challenges that poses. Huge thank you to all of my patrons for helping make these videos possible. If you want to help support the channel, you can click the link in the description to become a patron now, but the easiest way to support me is by subscribing and leaving a like. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.